Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of TNT, the Thursday Night Throwdown. This is episode 3. It is January the 16th, 2020. Again, my name is Chris Maloney. I am your host. Follow me at CCLM76 on social media. Alongside me tonight as well, Shawn Bates of the Scumbags of Wrestling. Shawn, how's your week been?
Not too bad. It's flying by.
Yeah, so what's new and exciting over there in Shawn's world?
Not too much. Quiet weekend with my wife in Toronto. Saw Phantom of the Opera first time. Love all genres of entertainment, whether it's on stage or in the squared circle. So I'm good to go.
So I'm guessing with the wife in Toronto, you caught up on some of your wrestling.
No, I didn't get to catch up on much. I made sure I was cleared all that off so we could actually spend time.
Yeah, husband of the year right there.
It was part of her 40th birthday.
Was that a real thumbs up, or was that the Orange Cassidy thumbs up right there?
No, it was a real thumbs up.
Okay, real thumbs up. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. Lots of news taking place this week. It's funny when you're doing a live show, you look at topics pretty much as soon as the show ends for the following week, and this is one of those weeks where just one thing after another, and both good and bad. Unfortunately, we're going to start with the bad. As you can see in the background there, a picture of the late Rocky Johnson at this point. Not sure if he was 75 or he was 78. The reason I say that, so the reports say 1944, I believe. But Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Newsletter had said there is a possibility that that date had been modified, so he might be 3 years older than that. But anyway, long story short, The Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, has passed away. I believe it happened late Tuesday night, but all the news had broke on Wednesday. And everywhere from WWE.com to AEW paying their respects to, Impact, to companies, wrestling promotions all across the world. I'll give you just a little glimpse of Rocky Johnson here. Canadian professional wrestler during his wrestling career, became NWA Georgia champion and NWA Southern Heavyweight Memphis champion, as well as winning many other championships. And if you go down his list, and this is just on Wikipedia here, his championships were huge, and mostly for the NWA. But the one main one that stuck out was obviously the WWF Tag Team Championship. That, I believe, he became the first African-American champion in the history of Tony Atlas. Is that right, Shawn?
Yeah, that was their tag team together.
Yeah, so him and Tony Atlas, tag team champions, just the one time. Inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, class of 2008. He was from Amherst, Nova Scotia, so he was a Canadian. Rock's got a little bit ties to Canadian as Canada as well, because he did play, I think, 1 year in the CFL. But Rocky Johnson passed away at the age of 75. From what I heard, he wasn't feeling that well, and then ended up going to sleep, and I guess never woke up. So,
good way to go.
I was going to say, not a bad way to pass away, but again, the legacy of who Rocky Johnson was, and he wasn't just, to a lot of fans nowadays, he's just The Rock's dad. You know what I mean? They don't know who he used to be as a competitor, but his drop kicks were compared to Jumpin' Jim Brunzell from the Killer Bees, to Kazuchika Okada from Japan, one of the greatest drop kicks in the world. And as you can see, even from that image that's in the background there, he had this intensity about him. He used to be able to get those fans hyped up, and to get those fans, into the match and cheering for this guy. But 75 years old. Shawn, thoughts, memories on Rocky Johnson, whether it be, WrestleMania 13, whether it be his career before that, WWE Network style. What's your thoughts on Rocky Johnson?
Well, yeah, that was what I was kind of going to say, was the fact that a lot of fans may not know him too well, because he wasn't really even in the 80s or late 80s when people our age were starting to watch. But most people remember him for being part of WrestleMania 13 and being by his son's side during that Intercontinental title match with the Sultan, or as we know as Rikishi. And they also had Bob Backlund and Iron Sheik at their side, and father and son held off everybody and celebrated together. So, yeah, definitely that's what most people would probably remember. And looking back at his history, and thankfully WWE Network has a lot of it, you can check it out.
Yeah, so Rocky Johnson passed away at the age of 75. No comment as of this point from The Rock on social media, so it includes Twitter and Instagram, but rest in peace, Rocky Johnson. From there, we go into somebody else who passed away, La Parka number 2. What I'm going to quickly do is I'm going to just share a screen just for anybody who hasn't seen this. And if you're squeamish, it's a little bit bad, but it's not horrible. But it just shows basically the parts of wrestling, unfortunately, that do take place. So I'm just going to bring up video here. So you see Shawn on the side. This is actually from YouTube here. Get rid of the Thursday Night Throwdown banner for the time being. But Shawn, have you seen this footage of La Parka and what had happened to him?
Yeah, I saw the original footage when he attempted the tope suicida, as they keep on loving to plug on AEW. And
so yeah, I can see the. Can you see that on your end? Just the footage there.
Yeah, it's a little slow at the moment.
Yeah, so it's probably just the bandwidth. But La Parka number 2 was diving out of the ring there, went to go hit Rush on the outside. You can see Rush there on the floor. La Parka had actually dove onto the ground, went a little bit too far and kind of sprung his neck almost backwards off of the bottom of that guardrail. And this was the site down there, but it's unfortunately, he didn't move for a little bit. Rushed to hospital, emergency surgeries, everything else. And from word, it was that he was getting better, and then all of a sudden, unfortunately, ended up passing away. But you go to YouTube and you can search this up. That was just that one dive from the one angle. There's another angle that's out there. It's a little more scary. You can see exactly what happened. But anyway, long story short, La Parka has passed away, at the age of, I think he was only in his 50s. I'm just going to bring that up here.
I think?
Yeah, it shows him being 54 years old. I'm just going to stop the footage here on YouTube.
And people have to kind of realize that this is not the chairman of WCW. This is the other La Parka from AAA. And the chairman that people remember of La Parka from WCW is now going by LA Park. So in case anybody's confused over who actually is gone, this is the La Parka from AAA.
Yeah, so Jesus Alfonso Huerta Escoboza, I believe is how you pronounce it, had the accident back in October 2019. That was that match with Rush. Ended up passing away January 11th. La Parka had been trademarked by a AAA promotion there, and the gimmick was great. And as Shawn has said, it wasn't the same guy from WCW, but he was he was a big time wrestler down there, 1995 to 2019. I mean, that's huge. And the legacy, the lasting impressions of the guy, and everybody saying their words of prayers and thoughts and prayers for this guy on social media as well. Shawn, here's a question for you. Do you continue the character in AAA, or do you kind of, that's it? Unfortunately, this guy passed away, so let's just, leave the character in the past in his honor.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, as we've seen with the whole Sin Cara deal, luchadors can be interchangeable. Just throw the mask on somebody. We saw that with the Villanos even. But I think with, in this case, just to honor him, I would let La Parka be done.
I think I have to definitely agree with that. So rest in peace, La Parka. Rest in peace, Rocky Johnson. A couple other people had passed away as well this past week. Pompero, and I'm going to bring this up, and the reason for it is because I heard something cool about this guy. So Pompero Firpo passed away January 9th. Apparently, he was, when you look at this guy, he looks like the Cuban Assassin, who's, if you're familiar with Atlantic Grand Prix Wrestling or Stampede Wrestling, that's where you know the Cuban Assassin from. But apparently he was huge in the legacy of Randy Macho Man Savage, as far as how Macho Man got his movements, some of the way he talked. I guess he was one of the first ones to do the "oh yeah" thing. Did you know about that? Because you're a huge fan of the Macho Man.
I didn't know about it until I actually heard it on, I think it might have been Something to Wrestle or Post Wrestling. Might have been Post Wrestling with John Pollock that I heard that one, that whole backstory.
Yeah, so he was Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer, he was one of Dave Meltzer's very early influences, because Dave Meltzer would hear about these guys on the playground talking about this guy and doing his chants and stuff like that. So unfortunately, he passed away as well. It goes in almost like this. It's all of a sudden nobody passes away, and then all of a sudden you have like 4 guys pass away in a very short period of time. You remember Brian Christopher passing away, Nikolai Volkov, and then I think there was can't think of the other guy. I think Memphis guy as well. But it seems to come in spurts, and it's unfortunate. It's the tie-in with wrestling. You know, they don't treat their bodies the greatest, and even when they slow down, sometimes they can't reverse that damage. But all these guys have passed away this week. Rest in peace. We're gonna get into some pass away. that was a bad segue. You know, that's live where we cannot edit. But anyways, what we're going to do right now is get into Impact
Step
Wrestling.
away from the negative news.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it. Step away from the negative news. Impact Wrestling was live last Sunday night, presented Hard to Kill. Shawn, did you see that?
I saw some of the matches. Once again, came back from Toronto and stuff like that. I just made it in time for some of it.
So we won't go through the card. Just any highlights that stood out to you, because I know the tag team title match was phenomenal for me. Michael Elgin's match wasn't too bad. Obviously, the main event was pretty good. Anything else? Anything stand out to you?
Yeah, definitely was going to say the Michael Elgin and Eddie Edwards match was probably match of the night. Can't say so much for the undercard that started it with, having Ken Shamrock going over Madman Fulton. There might have been a arm injury there, and even RVD with Brian Cage and Daga, that whole stuff. But as they get further into the card, the 3 matches you mentioned definitely stood out.
Okay, so here's the big topic that everybody had talked about last week, and I guess we'll share our thoughts on this. Tessa Blanchard, number 1, does she deserve to be champ? Number 2, does what happened as far as Twitter goes affect your feelings on her as a wrestler and her as being champion, as somebody who the company is putting their trust in?
Yeah, tough questions, to be honest with you, because interesting timing on being put out by the other ladies who commented on Tessa's tweet. I think she was just looking for support in the fact that she was going to be going for a men's title. And then that's when the floodgates opened. If everything that was said in all those Twitter responses is true, it doesn't bode well for her. You can maybe blame her upbringing, where she grew up, the type of people that were around her, that maybe that was acceptable type deal, but it's not acceptable in 2020 or even when it first happened, because it would have been only recently. I think 2017 was what was talked about. But hopefully this doesn't taint her career and people are able to move forward. I heard that the person that, I can't think of her name at the moment because it was in Spanish, also her recall of the whole thing. She doesn't want an apology, wants to move forward, but I think if Tessa is able to at least clear the air and acknowledge that, yeah, I did it, it was wrong, I'll try to be a better person, even with the bullying backstage that has been alleged. She's really early in her career to be able to improve on that and show better, as opposed to somebody like Hulk Hogan, who kind of just went with the, don't get caught on social media saying things or being recorded. There's going to be a difference, and hopefully she can step out of it. As for being a champion, maybe it was too early. Maybe it could have been some other woman, but at the same time, Tessa Blanchard is one of the top people in the wrestling business for the women's division, or any division for that matter. And you kind of saw it coming when she won the Wrestler of the Year from Impact Wrestling. And she's almost their version of the man, Becky Lynch. So it works. I don't know how they're going to get the belt off her. A lot of people have problems with intergender wrestling, and a lot of people shouldn't even be considering it intergender wrestling. It's just wrestling. It's 2020.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, especially being a fan of the Canadian independent wrestling scene as well. As far as Tessa being champion goes, it doesn't bother me at all. When I watched her win the championship, it's that tarnish that had happened on Twitter was a little bit affected my thoughts on her winning the title. But anytime I've had the honor of meeting her or seeing her in person and stuff like that, she's presented herself well. And you know this because you were there firsthand. We were at that Smash Wrestling event, and she wasn't down on the floor signing autographs. And sure enough, here I was packing up my bag, and I had taken that picture at the Impact tapings that we went to, where she won the women's title. And sure enough, she's up on the kind of balcony area, and I had said, "Hey, Tessa," I said, "Are you signing?" And then sure enough, she comes down. She apologized for being tired because she'd worked, I think, a Chicago show that weekend or something like that.
Yeah, and she just barely made it to the Smash show.
Yeah, so she was tired. She signs my autograph. Before she does that, I asked her for a picture. Before that happened, she goes, "Hey, do you want me to go get the championship?" She goes to the back, gets the Impact Wrestling Championship, brings that out, signs for me. I think she signed for you as well. I think I still have your picture, actually.
You do.
Took pictures with us, and then sure enough, Tessa's sitting there probably a good 30 minutes with the fans, and these little girls are lighting up and stuff like that. And I think I'd taken a picture of you and Tarek. And there's a picture of Tessa in the background with a little girl who's just all lit up. You know what I mean? So to me, that's my image of Tessa Blanchard. And people do make mistakes. And I don't agree with what happened in 2017. 2017, if that's official. My biggest concern is the timing of all of this. I don't think it was right to do this before that major pay-per-view. But it's out there, and as somebody who's still young, Tessa can learn all from this. So. I think my thoughts, from last week or the week before, I think Tessa has to lose the championship back to Sami Callihan. I think that to me, that's the only thing that makes sense. The one thing I had envisioned, and this was watching the pay-per-view, do they put Tessa against Taya title for title?
Well, yeah, I know Taya wants to do that and prove that she's just as good as Tessa, and it's possible, at least do that. But, I also heard people question, well, if Tessa can win the men's title, does that mean somebody can challenge Taya for the Knockouts title? And it's, I think, two different stories.
Now, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Cody Deaner one half, or no, was it Eric Young that was one half of the, what was it, the female tag team champion, the Knockouts tag team champion?
Yeah, with ODB.
With ODB, yeah. Yeah, so ODB obviously unsuccessful in attaining the title this past Sunday, but she's back wrestling, which is tremendous because she's a character. What's that?
Her food truck burned down apparently.
And apparently it's coming back to life. I think March or April or something like that. So, anyways, that was that on Tessa Blanchard. Two more notes on Impact. Impact Lockdown taking place March 28th in Windsor, Ontario. That was just announced. Josh Alexander was kind of hyped up on Twitter, basically saying him and Ethan Page are front and center on that poster, which is kind of cool. St. Clair College, I think, is taking place. I got excited when I saw the date. I was like, cool, I can go to another Impact pay-per-view. And so I asked Shawn, I said, hey, you road trip? And he's like, well, kind of booked for MWW that weekend. So, and then all of a sudden we learned, what was the last week, that promotion coming to London, which is the
Death Proof. They're going to do a sort of new promotion on their end, taking off on bar wrestling that's happening in the US, and it's going to happen at Call the Office here on the same day in London.
I don't understand. There's no way in the world they're going to fit a ring inside of Call the Office.
There's no ring.
Oh, there's no ring.
There's going to be an actual wrestling match. From what I've seen, there's going to be a wrestling match. There's going to be a brawl, hardcore match, and then 3 bands, I think, are playing also at Call the Office. So it's a mixture that way. They announced something about $10 in advance tickets, $20 at the door. But yeah, as you said, March 28th is jam-packed with Impact Wrestling in St. Clair College and Midwestern Wrestling in Listowel. So stretching everywhere. We're committed to Midwestern. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to have people report in from the other two, because I think I saw that Daniel and a friend of his are going down to Windsor, and there's probably some guys, either scumbags or wrestling nerds, that are going to stay in London and hit up whatever Death Proof is actually calling their new offshoot.
So it is a possibility this is one night only, right?
Yeah, well, it's going to be at London, like we are for most things, including fast food. It's going to be a testing ground to see if it works.
This is a better segue than my one earlier. One night only is taking place. Did you hear TNA is coming back for one night only?
Yeah, I believe is part of WrestleCon in April.
Yep. Friday, April 3rd, one night only. Total nonstop action returns. Tagline: There's no place like home. So taking place in, I don't know. I've seen this all over the place. YBOR City. How do you pronounce that? Is it Bor City? Is the Y silent?
I'm not sure.
All right. So, anyways, they are coming back for one night only. I know Ethan Page was a huge fan of TNA wrestling and trying to get that back. I think there was a picture of him on Facebook or Instagram or something like that with a TNA T-shirt on. So, one night, I think it'd be kind of cool.
Been put on the idea of bar wrestling happening at Call the Office, but it is Call the Office, so who knows how much longer it's going to be open, since we just lost Norma Jeans, and I'm not sure. I heard a rumor that possibly even Bull and Barrel might be on.
That I didn't hear, but that wouldn't surprise me. So Jonesy has come back to life. So he's posted a comment here. Can you see the comment?
Yep, it's up there.
So it'll be terrible in that bar. Horrible sight lines, though. They will be able to use the loose floor tiles as a weapon. Thanks for the comment there, Jonesy.
Maybe a pinball machine too.
Maybe a pinball machine as well. Jonesy he's old school wrestling, isn't he?
Yeah. He's kind of gotten away from all the ridiculousness that WWE is doing. He's one of the guys that they seem to have pushed away.
Yeah, it was funny when we were doing the podcast a couple of years ago, and all of a sudden I'd go to him about, so what do you think of Monday Night Raw this past week? I'll pass.
Yeah,
at least he was honest.
So you said there was those two notes for Impact. Unfortunately, there is some negative news, not just Tessa Blanchard, but it appears that they are losing Brian Cage to AEW, but they also lost their, I guess, time on Twitch thanks to Rob Van Dam and his lady friends.
Yeah, so Christine, my wife, was watching that. She was on the couch. I was in the where the dining room where I do actually doing this podcast. And sure enough, I knew where they were going with that segment, so I quickly turned the channel because even though she was occupied with what she was doing, she was still making comments. And that's not today's wrestling. It's not something I want to show my daughters or family members to. So they actually lost their Twitch deal.
Yeah, or at least they're banned for now. They could be suspended for a little bit, but yeah, I kind of agree with that. I did hear, I think it was on Post as well. The guys were filling in for John Pollock and Wei Ting since they were in Japan and talking about it, and they were kind of okay with the girls that RVD is hanging out with, like his girlfriend and his girlfriend's girlfriend, during the review of the pay-per-view. And to me, no, that's not what I consider somebody should be on the TV for starters. But if that's your thing and you think that's amazing, great, all power to you. But it seems rather, to be honest, prostitutes hanging out with RVD. And should that be on wrestling? I saw Katie Forbes part of Rob Van Dam's panel during StarCast, and I honestly saw no use in her. She was just sitting there the whole time, and it's like she should have just been down below. Could have been front row supporting Rob all she wants, but not sitting beside him doing an interview.
I had a non-PG joke just go through my head right there, but I'll leave it at that. 2020, that stuff shouldn't exist. And if it does exist, it should be on pay-per-view where people are buying that stuff, not on free TV. I mean, if they lost Twitch, that's not a good sign for them because it's Impact Wrestling, for whatever reason, seems to go one step forward, two steps back. And, it's they've never been able to gain their ground. And I remember when they signed Katie Forbes, and I said one thing on Twitter, just like, how can Impact Wrestling want to go into 2020 and sign people like this? And man, I got attacked, and people I didn't even know it just because I had mentioned Impact Wrestling in my statement. And it's the keyboard warriors though, right?
Yeah. Well,
But
the worst part also is the fact that they can't erase and get rid of that stench of TNA after everything that happened with Bischoff era, the Dixie Carter, the Vince Russo stuff. And everybody can't think of Impact Wrestling. They think of TNA. And then now they're doing this ridiculous stuff with Rob Van Dam and the Katie Forbes and Jennifer. But then they're bringing back the TNA name for one night only. Like, as you said, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, and they can't get any traction. Meanwhile, Don Callis and everybody are putting out a decent product when you take away the other stuff.
Oh yeah, they've got amazing talent over there. I'd put them up anybody against in NXT or AEW at this point, but they don't know how to use that talent properly. Sorry. I want to get into some more pro before we hit the indie. Just going to do a blitz on this one. Marty Scurll back with Ring of Honor, apparently on the creative team. Bandito resigns with Ring of Honor. Brian Cage rumored to be signing with AEW. It hasn't been officially announced yet, as far as I know. Taz signs with AEW, and Elias re-signs with WWE. Your thoughts on those 5 signings, and who do you think is going to make the most impact 2020?
Well, if Brian Cage goes over to AEW, I think that's a huge loss for Impact, but a good move for him. It's at the same time, they're trying to establish all the other characters. Where is he going to fit in to that? So you got to find that balance on that one. Taz being there, well, if they're going to have AEW Dark or whatever become another show, since they got that extension to 2023 and supposed to be putting Dark on TNT as well, he's going to be useful there. But it seems all their commentators are old WWE guys, for that matter. Marty Scurll, amazing. He's 31 years old, and he's going to have this huge deal because they threw WWE-style money at him, where he's going to be able to go to WWE, do NWA Power as well, and he's going to be part of creative decisions with Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor doing that hopefully is a sign that they're ready to turn what was a dismal 2019 around and go try and reestablish themselves after losing all the Elite and Cody Rhodes and those guys. They look like they have a connection still with New Japan. So if 2020 is a reversal of fortunes for Ring of Honor, I applaud that, and let's see what happens.
Okay, so I'm going to be the hypocrite. You've got this young talent base with Ring of Honor. You've got the fact that at one point in time, they were hooked up with NWA as well as New Japan. When I went to the show last year in Toronto, I saw one New Japan match. They had a CMLL match. NWA had just taken themselves out of that equation. Now, with what you just said, they think about it this way: who is their champion right now?
Isn't it
50 plus something PCO?
Yeah, PCO.
So would you trust him leading Ring of Honor into this new, this new platform, this 2020 battle with all the rest of the wrestling promotions? Do you think Marty Scurll has what it takes to put them on board, at least in a working connection with AEW?
I don't see Ring of Honor and AEW working together. AEW really doesn't want to work with many people, for that matter. They won't work with New Japan, and that's why you're seeing only Jericho and Moxley doing Japan, but not doing Japan US. So AEW doesn't want to have those type of relations. But if smaller companies like NWA and Ring of Honor want to work together, it's a sign that they want to move forward instead of just being where they are.
So your 2020 prediction is we don't see AEW and ROH do anything together?
I would be very surprised if they did.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go against that, so we'll see who's right at the end of the year.
Do you think they're going to do stuff together?
I think Marty Scurll's the one person that could make that happen. If as we get the Sebastian Suave shirt that just appears on the screen here. Anyways, but I think Marty Scurll is the one person that can make that happen based on his connection with those 4 executive vice presidents of AEW and Tony Khan being the wrestling fan he is. But We'll have to wait and see. Shawn alluded to earlier, so AEW has signed through 2023 on TNT. I'm not going to read the whole article, just the first portion of it. AEW Dynamite on TNT is a top 20 new cable unscripted series and has reached nearly 32 million homes across all platforms in only 3 months. Warner Media announced a relationship with AEW to go through 2023. The other note that I had seen as well was AEW Dark is rumored to be heading to TNT as well. And that's been confirmed, I guess, by Turner president Kevin Riley, who spoke of it. So with that being said, we're going to have AEW Dynamite on TNT, AEW Dark on TNT. What do they do with YouTube at this point now?
Yeah, I don't know, because I guess YouTube was definitely a good destination to go to every Tuesday night for Dark. So I don't know if they come up with more videos like Being the Elite. At the same time, the revamped Dark, if it goes to TNT, is rumored to also have videos like Being the Elite, so that they can start doing more talent profiles, so you're not lost when people like Dark Order show up. And we know them here in Ontario and Buffalo area and Quebec. Yeah, sorry, Dark Order's Quebec and Ontario. People know them, and they got a big pop from us at home, but it was like crickets when they debuted. Same thing, unfortunately, with Butcher and Blade. But if they had videos to highlight who they are, then when they do arrive, they're going to get the right reaction that they want. It's sort of the old formula that WWE had, when you would see 2 months of Dean Douglas is coming to WWE, Thurman Sparky Plug is coming, the bad guy, Razor Ramon, and you saw all these little videos to give their personality before they showed up. Even Dusty Rhodes did that before making his WWE appearance.
Oh, yeah, the common man gimmicks.
Yeah, delivering pizza, being the garbage man, and the plumber, and all that. Like, those sort of things established them. And, in the case of Dusty for WWE, he was only known in the South. So they needed those videos to do him and get him over when he went up north.
Yeah.
If people did that with the AEW, no more crickets in church, or at least less opportunity for that.
All right. So last thing we'll say about AEW. So ratings this week, AEW Dynamite 940,000 people versus NXT 700,000 people. Surprised?
No, because they did entitle their event Bash at the Beach, so they were living off that name. They're gearing up for this weekend because they're going to be on the Jericho cruise.
Did you see that breaking that million mark?
Pardon?
Do you see them breaking that million mark, knowing that the Jericho cruise is coming up?
Probably not, because it's going to be pre-taped. So
the results will be out there, yeah.
If the results are out there, they may or may not get that. People might tune in just to see how a show gets put on a cruise ship, because I'm not sure if they'll do it in the theater or if they'll put the ring on the deck where the pool is. I know last year for the first cruise, they used Norwegian Jade, which I had been on, so I know the layout of it. This time I think they're using Jewel, which I have not been on, so I'm not sure where they're going to end up putting that ring. And that's, in a way, what I'm looking forward to seeing, how they do that on the cruise ship. But I got, as I said, 2 friends I know are going on that cruise, so it'd be nice to see their pictures when they get back.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, 2 more pro topics. More excited about Rollins, AOP, and Murphy as a unit, or the fact that Scott Steiner has made 5 decades in the wrestling industry?
Yeah, tough call. Like, both of them are just odd, to be honest. Like,
do you find the AOP and Seth Rollins and now Buddy Murphy, do you think they're clicking?
Maybe when it was AOP and Seth, I don't know where they're going to go with the whole Buddy Murphy thing. I know Buddy needed something, and they definitely see something in him, and he's one of the pushed 4 or 5 guys that are mid card trying to be pushed by Paul Heyman with Rock Creative, including Andrade and Aleister Black. But we'll have to see where that goes with that him being added to this new faction that Seth is putting together.
So the bigger question, I guess, on top of that is, will wrestling fans in 2020 be able to understand Steiner math in the NWA?
Depends, because what is the demographic watching NWA?
Well, I figure a lot of old school fans, but I mean, both of us are in our 40s. Jones is what? He's in his 40s too, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I don't think they'd be able to capture it. And Marty Scurll's a different story, though. Marty, I think, would be able to bring on that younger group. But who else do they have besides, I mean, like Colt Cabana? They got Eli Drake, guys like that. But I don't think they anybody over there that's young that's going to be, attractive for wrestling fans in their 20s, even teens.
Well, yeah, you got that right. And Jonesy, this part is, I guess, for you, because we're watching, talking about NWA Power, and you're just watching it. But yeah, you got Steiner there. You have the Pope, like
the Rock and Roll Express.
The Rock and Roll Express are tag team champions, and they're in their 60s. I saw Ken Anderson, or Mr. Kennedy, whatever he wants to be called, and the guy has this biggest belly ever. And then you got Aaron Stevens, who everybody knows as Damian Sandow, but he's not really doing much. You got Stu Bennett doing commentary, so a lot of old WWE guys. Melina is there, and she's not as spring chicken as she
used to be.
Yeah, and some of the curves are in different places now, and she's challenging for the women's championship with Allison Kay. That's probably one of your youngest people there is her, but who is that going to bring in a lot of people? No offense to Allison Kay, because I think she's very impressive, and we saw her at the Summit.
Oh yeah, she is one of those individuals you can see in a ring with the intergender matches, or male versus female matches easily going over. So I guess we'll have to wait and see where it goes. But last note we're going to talk about as far as pro goes, and this is for us. This is for anybody London, Ontario, St. Thomas, Ontario. Thoughts on Batista? And I see a comment here. I don't even know if I want to open it, but thoughts on Batista hitting St. Thomas to be part of the C cast.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. They're even looking for extras, I think, later on this week for that in St. Thomas. And they're going to be filming. And isn't Jason Momoa or Aquaman there?
Aquaman. Yeah, I had a few ladies light up at work about it and be like, oh, Jason Momoa's coming to St. Thomas. I was like, okay, who cares?
And they're filming outside and not just indoor things. So they were just like, bundle up.
Yeah, and they were like, yeah, Aquaman's coming. And I was like, okay. And then all of a sudden I read Batista's coming, and that's what I got excited. So Joan says Mr. Joan says Mr. Kennedy's fat. NWA is bad funny.
He's kind of right. Well, as anybody who watched it this week, Nick Aldis's team lost to Ricky Morton's team, allowing Ricky Morton in 2020 to get a NWA title shot.
Yeah, well, I mean, he is tag team champion, though.
Yeah. Though, to give a shout out, you were also mentioning about Steiner doing 5 decades. Dustin Rhodes is also in that category. And Big Show, by doing the last 2 weeks on Raw, has now got 4 decades under his belt.
Yeah, I was going to say he would have started in the 90s, eh?
Yeah.
All right. And last topic before we hit the Canadian independent wrestling scene. Any thoughts this weekend as far as McGregor's comeback goes for UFC?
No.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. All right. So, folks, we're going to talk about Canadian.
He's a lot of show, to be honest. He's talented, but I don't know.
He's a what?
I said he's a lot of show.
A lot of show.
He's doing a lot of the pro wrestling, gimmick side of him. That's what puts eyes on him, which is great. But
so do you think AEW could bring this guy in Tyson style?
Potentially, but doesn't he? Hasn't he said in a way if he does do that, he wants to go to WWE?
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But anyway, UFC 246 taking place this weekend. Conor McGregor's return against Cowboy Cerrone. So check that out if you got nothing to do this coming Saturday night. We, on the other hand, are going to switch over to Canadian Independent Wrestling. That is my hashtag right there. We are CIW. Shawn's hashtag is We Are Scumbags. So anyways, the We Are part is very similar. What I'm going to do right now is wish Nicole Matthews a happy 33rd birthday. Her birthday was actually yesterday, January the 15th. And the reason for that, I'm also going to go into the first of spotlights. So every week on this show, you're going to see a different promotion spotlighted on this show. This week, I have chosen to do ECCW, so Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling. You can find them at eccw.com. I'm going to do a little bit of history about them. I reached out to them on Twitter. They gave me a little bit of history coming back, so I'm just going to read that just shortly there. If you're looking to ever get in touch with us to be featured on the show, Thursday Night Throwdown at Outlook.com is the best way to be able to do that. Or you can reach out to Shawn on the Scumbags or myself on CWN, whatever you want to do. But like I said, ECCW, Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling, is our focus this week. So just going to read a little bit about them. So website, eccw.com. Extreme Canadian Championship Wrestling is how they started. Began promoting its first shows January 1996 under the ownership of veteran wrestler promoter Gorgeous Michelle Starr, with assistance from Terry Joe Silverspoon, who had started with West Coast Championship Wrestling in 1993. So that's a little bit of a history there. ECW, I think it still existed back in the mid-90s. So I think that's where the Extreme Canadian part had come in. Promotion initially operated solely on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada, running shows in towns such as Port Alberni, Nanaimo, and Campbell River. Last WCCW heavyweight champion was The Bodyguard. Newly promoted ECCW title was held as a cage match between Superfly Jimmy Snuka and John Rambo. Rambo would win the title before setting for longer periods of time with Michelle Starr, Mike Roselli, and Juggernaut. People clamoring for the new ECCW on the mainland. It was decided to bring it there in late 1996. There had been wrestling at the Carpenters Hall in New Westminster some time back, and a recent promotion had run Eagles Hall, but had limited success. Kind of sounds familiar as far as a promotion up there in Listowel, eh, Shawn?
Yeah.
So just furthermore here, basically it goes on to talk about the article. Michelle Starr was huge in the beginning. Talks about some of the big battles that they had in the original, which actually featured Dr. Luther. So the same Dr. Luther that you see, with regards to
the Nightmare.
What is it? The night. What is the actual name of the AEW group there?
It's Brandy's.
I know it's Brandy. I can't think of it.
The Nightmare or something.
Yes, but anyway, ECCW, they end up changing the name to Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling, but they have been, go since 1996. One of the mainstays. I know when I first got into wrestling was about 2001 as far as websites go, and they had existed back then. So props to them for still continuously putting on shows. Some of the people who have wrestled for them, when you go through the list, is absolutely amazing.
Nightmare Collective.
Nightmare Collective, that's right.
Conrad Cushman. Thank you.
So, yeah, Dr. Luther was part of there. Dropkick Murphy. The Singh brothers were part of ECCW. Jim Neidhart once wrestled for them. Juggernaut used to be one of the champions. Kurgan. Just going through the list. It's a long list. It's a huge, huge list. And these are just the guys. Sabu has wrestled for them. Tito Santana, TJ Wilson, Tommy Dreamer, Tony Kazina. I believe he's from the Winnipeg province or promotion. Then you go down to the females, anywhere from Aurora, who used to be tight with Daryl Sharma, who used to be known as the Hornet. Cheerleader Melissa, Casey Spinelli has wrestled for them. Lufisto, Natty Neidhart, Portia Perez. The list was on and on and on. Taya Valkyrie, obviously. Shawn, have you ever heard of ECCW before, and your thoughts on promotion existing independent-wise since 1996?
No, I really haven't heard of that one. Because you said it's out west.
Yeah, so it's most of the shows. They do have a lot of shows in Vancouver at this point, but most of the shows are British Columbia, Streamline, and stuff like that. So
it's definitely impressive, though, that they've lasted as long as they have, with the being around since the 90s. So that's 3 decades of being around, and there's a lot of new promotions popping up and everywhere. And even when you have somebody like PWA switching their names, to be around that long is definitely impressive.
Yeah, so some of the other names that people would be familiar with would be Scotty Mack, ELP, El Fantasmo. He's wrestling for New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. He was part of that group, but two of the most famous guys are obviously the Servas. So Harv and Gerv, who did I say Serva? I meant to say Sira. I want to get that right. Yeah, Sira. My apologies. Gamma Singh used to be part of it as well. Gamma Singh is now part of Impact Wrestling. But props to them for existing as long as they have. I've known about them since, like I said, the early 2000s. And, it's great to see promotions exist that long because they've got the legacy behind them of guys who have worked for them. And Shawn, even with here hometown base, you've seen a lot of guys work for Smash Wrestling who are now you can only catch them on TV, yeah?
Yeah, it's good to see them go up, as we talked about earlier, with Super Smash Brothers, now the Dark Order, Ali, Butcher and Blade.
And the list goes on and on and on.
Yep.
All right, so from there, guys, what I'm going to do is just do some upcoming indie dates, do an updated list for the Femme Fatales, and then get Shawn's thoughts on anything Canadian indie-based, as well as a bit of an announcement from MWW tonight as well. So upcoming shows taking place this coming weekend. So Friday, January 17th, North Pro Wrestling Moncton. C4 presents Snowpiercer in Ottawa on the 17th as well. LLCV Blackout, St. Charles Borromée in Quebec. RCW New York Stampede in Ponoka, Alberta. Force Pro, The Return in Edmonton. And then the aforementioned ECCW Ballroom Brawl 13 Night 1 taking place in Vancouver on the 17th as well. 18th, we'll see Battle Arts Rising Stars in Mississauga, Late Productions, EWE in St. Hyacinthe, Quebec. Claim Pro Wrestling, New Year's Resolution 9 in Ottawa. Lid Demont and Loot NSPW 2 Kickoff 2020 in Quebec. I think Sebastian Suave is going to that one. Shawn, we had talked about this off air. SVW, which is, I think, Seaway Valley Wrestling. Is that right?
Yeah, Seaway Valley.
And Destiny presenting Super Fight in Cornwall on the Saturday the 18th as well. PCW New Year's Knockout Winnipeg, Manitoba on the 18th. Thrash Wrestling Cold Day in Hell in Pentacon, BC. And Night 2 of ECCW Ballroom Brawl 13 Night 2 taking place on the 18th. And then two shows on the 19th. Battle War 71 Live Pro Wrestling Montreal, Quebec. And then this is huge. Destiny presents Carnage with Marty Scurll in Mississauga, Ontario on the 19th. Main event for that one, Marty Scurll taking on Josh Alexander's champion versus former champion. Shawn, your thoughts on any of those? Any of those stand out? And do you see Josh Alexander taking that title back from Marty Scurll?
I do not see Josh picking up that belt. It's definitely going to be a busy weekend. I've going to be putting out my show in a little while, or by tomorrow morning. But yeah, it's just so much wrestling going on. Snowpiercer for Seed 4. Yeah, it's got Lufisto and Too Cold Scorpio, legends going against each other.
All right, and just quickly, guys, I'm just going to bring up the Femme Fatales updated list. Shawn, do you want to do the announcement from MWW that Doug had put out there earlier?
I will switch over and find it. We do know that Midwestern Wrestling is returning to Listowel on March 28th. They're going to be doing their inaugural champion in a match involving two of the pillars, Tyson Dukes and Tarek. And so they'll be the first champion being crowned there. The poster came out where you're getting a message here. Where's Tyson? Okay. I was seeing something else pop up. There was a former message from Doug. Anyways, as I was saying, Tarek is going after the title with Tyson. The poster got released today, and it has The Muscle, Corey Stone, Sebastian Suave, and Psycho Mike Rollins on it. So one can obviously assume that they're going to be a part of the show. And
then ticket information listed as well.
Oh, here we go. I got the actual thing. So Muscle is actually taking on Corey Stone. The endorsement, Sebastian Suave takes on Psycho Mike Rollins, so that's why those 3 matches are featured on the poster. History will be made as Midwestern Wrestling Championship. It's a real beauty. We're going to hopefully see pictures of it soon. We'll go around the waist of either Tyson Dukes or Tarek. More matches will be announced shortly, just waiting for contracts to be fully settled. As a reward to our loyal fans that follow on social media posts, they're offering advanced ticket sales until January 24th. Tickets are 2 for $25. The special is available via e-transfer only, and regular prices will be in effect after the 24th. They suggest sending a message as soon as possible to secure your tickets now. Don't you dare miss it, in the great words of Billy Red Lions.
That place was packed last time.
Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten any more chairs in there if they even had any more chairs. I think even there was a message or something said that they were turning away people.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, because we were sitting at the table most of the night, but I think we had people coming towards us at one point to set up more chairs because I think they had underestimated how many people were going to show up for this first show.
Yeah, well, considering the last time wrestling was in that area, it was a very dismal turnout, but I guess good word of mouth and promotion and everything and time away allowed fans to want to come and support this new organization, and Midwestern Wrestling is going to be a destination to go if you're in that area. Maybe even hop in the car and take a trip if you don't mind the extra hour on the road.
Yeah, so 3 things. Number 1, Doug says, I'm assuming it's Doug, says Midwestern Wrestling. Thanks for the love again, guys. Follows up with more matches to come soon. And then my invite to anybody from Midwestern, if you want to be on this show, we can have up to 6 guests at a time, 5 including 5 plus myself, I guess I should say. But Doug, I would love to interview you to get the backstory on why Midwestern Wrestling exists, what you hope to accomplish within the upcoming year. We can do 2 interviews if you want to. We can do 1 just to get a backstory on NWW, and then as well as right before the show, that Thursday before the show, get you on here again just to promote and hype the second show. Shawn, I think you'd be game with that, eh?
Yeah, for sure. And even Clarence, if he wants to join us as well.
Yeah, so again, hashtag, you can go to cwnonline.ca, hashtag WeAreCIW. When you click that, you'll get all the independent shows for Canada that I'm aware of that will come up. Everything's Facebook linked, so the moment I see a show on Facebook, I add it, and then it's just one big list of shows happening across Canada. I'm just going to go through Femme Fatales just quickly here. So, Femme Fatales 23, Friday, February 21st, 2020, taking place Ottawa, Ontario. Wrestlers confirmed so far. So Lufisto, Ivelisse, Alexia Nicole, Meave O'Farrell, Priscilla Kelly, Nicole Savoy, Kimberly, Casey Spinelli, Ashley Vox, Sally, Vita Scott. The girls' room just announced. So Ava Everett and Davine, maybe, and Navaya. Navaya, I think, she was one of the ones at the Smash show at Comic-Con not too long ago, eh?
Yeah, Navaya was, I believe, on Team Canada.
She replaced Shotzi, if I.
No. She was. Wasn't she Team USA? Because she's related to the Christ brothers.
Yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, so anyways, good listening there. Yeah, good listening there for Femme Fatales 23 taking place. And again, if you're in the Ottawa area, go check it out. I've had the opportunity to check out 2 all-women shows at this point. Canusa Classic that took place at Comic-Con back in 2000. What was it? It would have been 18, right? October 2018. And then the summit last summer, which was absolutely phenomenal as well. But if you get a chance to check out all women's wrestling, definitely check it out. I'm going to head over to Shawn now. Shawn, what's going on in your world? Because I know as many projects as I've got going on, you've got just as many, probably even more. Shawn, Scumbags of Wrestling, hashtag, like I said, we are Scumbags. There's his link there, facebook.com/group/Scumbags of Wrestling. But that is not all you do, is it? What else you got going on and as far as social media and everything else goes?
Yeah. Wish I was a little bit more on social media other than just Facebook, but because my Twitter game and Instagram is kind of horrible. Anyways, beyond that, definitely do the podcast, which I'm hoping to have out by Saturday. and that's available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and pretty much anywhere you can get your podcast from. I also am working on episode number 3 of the Ontario Indie Road Trip. It's a trip through Ontario, highlighting all the events that are happening each weekend and the weekend in advance. So you have no excuse to miss great independent wrestling wherever it's happening in your area. And like I said before, hop in the car, support it. Then when we get around to it, right now the production line unfortunately is on a little bit of a hiatus because I've stopped by the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory for the last couple of weeks, and each time I'm there, they've just been working on fundamentals of the squared circle. They even did some DDP yoga with Sarah Fortune, but they haven't been able to do any matches while I'm there. And until they get some more matches that I can film, the production line, which is on YouTube and Facebook, is holding up. But there's still the back catalog you can go look at. There's at least, I think, 20 episodes of that. So you can see the Stars of Tomorrow being built today at the Tyson Dukes Wrestle Factory on the production line. And yeah, I think that's about it, plus the show.
All right. So let me ask you this, because you're I guess at this point you're probably pretty tight with Tyson, eh?
Well, enough that
you're more than an acquaintance.
When I come in, he's like, "Hey, how are you?" I don't disrupt the classes or anything like that. And
so you're very respectful when you're there.
Yeah, obviously respectful. Should have been doing a little bit of filming last night with them to help out the students. I know one time they were working on a new move, and I was recording it. He asked for me to show them back how their move was looking. So yeah, obviously definitely valued being there in a way. So yeah. You
okay,
ready
so
to say about Tyson?
I'm going to ask you this. So us two idiots, we have this love, this passion for wrestling. So we do what we do to try to help out, but just because it's a hobby for us. I can almost guarantee Tyson can take our passion for this business, for what we do, and probably times that by 100,000 at least.
Probably.
I mean, here's a guy who's like the Energizer Bunny of wrestling and just keeps going and going and going. And he has gone the transformation. The coolest thing about Tyson Dukes, and I try to explain to Christine with this, is the transformation he's gone from. When and I forget where I saw this. I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. It showed him a picture when he was amateur wrestling, I think it was, and he was a skinny guy, like very skinny. You know what I mean? And then if you're
on Velocity doing
the Dukes dance, you know what I mean? And that laugh that he used to do. And then all of a sudden now you see him now, and he's like the wrestling machine or the godfather of Ontario Indie. And now he's training all these kids, you know what I mean? Shiloh and Kyle Boone and Violet Lee and Frankie War and his own son and the Revolt, you know what I mean? And when you're watching these guys in the ring, obviously there's some kind of talent that goes on with them. But a lot of that has to do with Tyson. You would have to say that, eh?
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm just somewhat in awe watching when he steps in to do it. And to be honest, when he gets to do some chain wrestling, regardless of who it is, he's like a cat playing with a mouse. Like, he's having so much fun. He's in his zone doing that. So it's awesome just being able to see how that gets put together. And I don't know about you. I know we've kind of talked about it before. I might throw this out here since it is the beginning of 2020 and we've talked about our age and stuff like that. I kind of was, we've talked about wanting to do something in the business. We're smart enough to know that we're not going to be doing the actual matches and stuff like that. But
hey, who's to say that? Look at Tim Storm for NWA.
Not true, but he's been doing it for how long before this?
Yeah, I guess very true.
Okay, but I'm kind of leaning towards, and I mentioned it earlier to Muscle when I talked to him on the phone, was that I want, by the time I'm 45, to have possibly been able to learn to be a ref.
And I thought Muscle only gave his number out to chicks.
Well, he called me.
Well, okay.
He's trying to motivate me with his business of personal training.
I'm assuming that animal crackers are probably involved as well.
Yes, maybe.
Okay.
We'll have to
Maybe,
see.
yeah.
But he has this whole diet plan and personal training we were talking about, and he asked me what my goals were for 2020, and that's where we got talking about possibly doing this whole before I'm 45 thing, dropping the weight and getting up the.
You haven't got too much time on your hands. You're talking like 15 months.
16 months, and talking to Tyson and get that training going.
You realize you're on live video right now, right?
I am.
All right, this ends, and it's streamed still on YouTube and Facebook and Anchor and every place else. So, all right, so there you go.
And I thought you wanted to do somewhat the same thing. So
well,
that's
good.
I'm putting out there to
challenge
you.
Good news is I've been dropping weight, so I've been eating healthy. Not tonight. I'm obviously drinking a beer on camera here, but I'm nursing the beer, which is good. And I had pizza for supper because my wife and I were both tired, and baby was cranky. So, anyways, but I have been doing well, like to the point yogurt and tuna and good cereal and watching my alcohol content and everything else. So we'll see who gets there first. If I get in that kind of shape, you can go to Tyson, you can talk to Brad Myers, you can talk to the Muscle. I've got this guy I know, his name's Jay Smith. That's going to be my guy who I go to. And I've known Jay for a while now, so we'll see. It'd be a challenge, you know what I mean? Jay could maybe take me under his wing. Muscle takes you under his wing, and all of a sudden the challenge is on. Who can do a better job at refereeing? By the time we're 45, so Shawn's birthday's in May, my birthday's in June. We're giving ourselves probably 15, 16 months?
16 months.
So yeah, if this show's on the air still in 16 months, there's the challenge right there. And yeah, I guess we'll wait and see. But it's not easy at our age trying to get in shape.
Exactly.
And that I'll tell you this. And Jay Smith I know has got twins. So the bad thing about that is he's got no time at all to take me to the gym and show me how to work out. You, on the other hand, you've got Tyson Dukes and the Muscle. So 2 personal trainers there. I don't know. I'm climbing uphill at this one, but I guess we'll wait and see. You know what? I'll accept that challenge. And this time next year, even if this show's not on the air, we'll bring it back for one time only. And maybe we can do a live Thursday Night Throwdown and us with a refereeing debut. So we'll have to wait and see about that one.
See.
Jonesy, you're on board too. Get in there. But anyways, I say anyways too much. I've realized that. So Shawn did his thing. This is my thing here. CWN Online. So cwnonline.ca. That is my news site, as well as you can find out upcoming matches, pro and indie, any kind of news I feel is relevant. It's in my site's an aggregator, so I don't write a lot of original articles, but I do point out the articles that are online that I think are relevant or Canadian based. Eventually the site will turn bigger, but again, full-time job. Married, kids, everything else, and apparently becoming a referee in the next 16 months. So the site is what it is, but it's a lot of passion in it. It's been around 2009, so it's been back and forth, but I decided to bring this back at the same time I brought in Thursday Night Throwdown. So that is that. Best way to reach me, Chris at cwnonline.ca. Any kind of ideas you might have for the website, so this is just website based, or any ideas you might even have for the show, feel free. Best way to get in touch with this show, Thursday Night Throwdown at outlook.com. Ideas, guests, what you want to see us talk about, who you think is going to beat who. Am I going to become the best referee, or Shawn going to become the best referee? Are we going to give Matt from Smash a run for his money? You know what I mean? But in saying that, I know your wife is a better photographer than mine, so you've already got that shoe in right there. Because isn't it his wife Holly is the one who does all the photographs and stuff like that. So anyway, now we're just talking a bunch of smack. Facebook.com/TN Throwdown CA. So it's been a long ass day, but that is our Facebook address. Shawn, anything you want to follow up on before we say goodbye?
No, I'm good. Thanks to everybody who joined us, and send those suggestions. It's great having 2 of us ramble on about the current stuff that's going on, but an extra voice or 3 is always welcome.
Yeah, so you will see, like I said, the independent spotlight happen on a weekly basis. This week was ECCW. Next week is going to be FLQ in Quebec. Shawn, I'll probably let you take the next couple there. Any promotions you want to focus on? Because I mean, there's a ton. You go through the listings, and there's from coast to coast. There's and even the new ones that are starting out. And like I said, Doug, MWW Wrestling, you want to be on the show? Let me know. Hit me up. There's Night Throwdown at outlook.com, or you're on my Facebook, so just hit me up that way. Other promoters all across Canada, let me know as well if you want to be on the show. We'll talk about whatever you want to, hype your matches, your promotion, your events, and that's what we want to do, is help get not only talk about the mainstream wrestling and everything else going on in the week, but talk about Canadian independent wrestling, because it is what we love. But that is it for this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Again, RIP to Rocky Johnson, about 75 years old, passed away, but he's in a better place if he was suffering. So Shawn, thanks again for doing the show.
As always.
And hopefully we see you again next week. And to everybody out there, thanks so much for watching and listening if you're listening on Anchor or iTunes or whatever the case may be. And we will see you next week, everybody.